Such subjective and unique, cinematography is known around the world as the seventh art, a sector whose origin, like other arts, has as its foundational principle the admiration from which we derive recognition of the most infamous examples of its kind. Great minds and eccentric decisions are responsible for carrying out the revolution of the genre, of the type, giving way to its importance in society, not only from the fact of the arduous work, but also from its expression. We understand the impact of the Mona Lisa, we idealize the works of Shakespeare, and we appreciate Beethoven's symphonies. But as young as it is opulent in its works, in the art of cinematography we have won as an understanding of modern cinema and recognized as the most significant creation in history, the 1941 film Citizen Kane.
You're gonna get more than one lesson.
Don't worry about me, Geddes. Don't worry about me! I'm Charles Foster Kane!
The 1941 film, directed by and starring Orson Welles, titled Citizen Kane, has referred to itself over the years as a cult film, addressing not only a revolutionary idea based on the narrative mode for the time, but also laying the foundations for the construction methods in the stories we see on the big screen. A testament to Orson Welles' ingenuity and dedication, which in its derivative delivered a standard that would be difficult to surpass, and that would only be comparable with other film pieces such as The Godfather, Seven Samurai, or extravagances of taste, such as 2001, A Space Odyssey. There is nothing that has not been said, and nothing that has not been analyzed in the 8 decades of existence about the film, where certain condolences that Orson Welles may have made as a pioneer often become taboo. However, it is the turning point of the plot and the creation process that make its appreciation insurmountable in such longevity and future of time. A gloomy space, magnificent but solitary, so tall and wide, but devoid of any essence of conformity, because without people and plagued by a vast indication of what was once a building dedicated to feeling, nothing more than the coldness and emptiness that matched the bleak climate was appreciated. Along with this environment, death occurs, and only one word is anticipated by it: Rosebud. The story of Citizen Kane begins with a synopsis of the reach that a certain individual had in the culture of society, where the discord and shame of news conglomerates are shown for having the exclusive rights over the life process of Charles Foster Kane, a recently deceased magnate, and with the unknown and the hunger to cover the news in abundance, a journalist, Jerry Thompson, is assigned to discover the past of the man who once had everything. The shot of a place outside of monetary comfort is presented to us. Kane's family and the latter in his infant years. A piece of news is undertaken from the white but filling snow. Mrs. Kane in the past had become the owner of supposedly worthless mining exploitation deeds, deeds that in the recent discovery of gold would make Charles and his family rich. The occurrence of the moment happens while outside the simple home. The infant Kane enjoys playing with a simple wooden sled, a situation that would be interrupted by his mother's decision to send him to the city, believing only in what she had before. And with the innocence of that time, the child is negative about the merciless future he would have without the person he trusted most, his mother. But what decision would he have if it is this same person who is responsible for sending him away? It is then that, unknowingly, the space that held conformity in his being would now be overshadowed by materialism on a new path through the urban walks of society, and at a point of no return that would mark him for the rest of his life. The journalist Jerry Thompson is then, throughout the film, begins a journey visiting the creditors of the now future-turned Citizen Kane, where those investigated are portrayed. Charles's homes resemble the captivating, a boy not blinded by the protruding wealth he now possessed, from which he perhaps exhausted the joy of power. Confident, but not stubborn, he embarks in his youth where he meets the personality that would frame what he was losing during the rest of his life. Jedediah Leland, someone who would become his best friend. The meaning of Citizen Kane surrounds the decay of an individual's values in the integrity of his being. We not only see how power turns his decision-making throughout his life, from being a participant in freedom of expression, individuality, but also cooperative work and initial indifference to power along with his political criticism, to characterizing himself as a conformist solitary man with everything, but at the same time, nothing. An excellently transformed analogy was the dilemma of filling the void that Kane had drained with the loving part of his life. First, with his first marriage, which would end with a bitter end after the arduous dedication to his work in the newspaper. Of course, he did not need this work, but it was proof of his own reason for being, to expose with mere credibility the word and reality. Kane's second marriage is what catalogs and finalizes Kane's substantiality, when, already at a much older age and with the experience of the newspaper, he now decides to propose himself as a political candidate, managing to sweep with convincing popularity. It is shortly before the elections that he leaves this path for a new love, a new seed responsible for fertilizing the dryness that Kane's will now tried to fill with political positions. A young woman named Susan Alexander. This relationship is what inhibits saying what Kane built, and not for a matter of opportunism. It is now his will that expands the counterpoint of his past, leaving the dynamic material part to please the person who completes his emptiness. This is how the foundation of the sediments that would mark his misery until the end of his life arises, in addition to the prohibition of values in his newspaper post at the end of his long friendship with Jedediah. The Susan Alexander Theater in Xanadu are inaugurated to promise Mr. Kane's copious mark towards appreciation with his wife. However, it would not stop the purpose of the commitment, because before the mediation of their relationship, Kane, refusing to prove contact with the frivolity that framed the importance of his wealth, conflicts with his wife, causing abandonment, and before this the farewell of all virtue that Citizen Kane still preserved, is answered by his solitary destiny without anything to cover, because love had ended and sincerity had vanished without any friend to turn to, and condemned to be a victim of the importance of his figure before the rest of the false society. He, without wanting to look for what captivated him, would die with the splendor of the last moment in which he was happy, when he did not count on the curse of opulence, that moment with his sled near his mother, that sled with the engraving Rosebud. Without a doubt, Citizen Kane brought an immeasurable structural value to the art of filmmaking, incorporating real-life inspirations such as J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller to create a visual representation of the magnate Charles Foster Kane. This influence has resonated throughout cinematic history, giving rise to the phrase, "It's the Citizen Kane of Zrania," a testament to its enduring greatness and its connection to themes of continuity and conformity in an ordinary life, with the concept of Rosebud serving as a poignant reflection of this.
If you could have found out what that rosebud meant, I bet that would have explained everything.
No, I don't think so. No. Mr. Kane was a man who got everything he wanted and then lost it. Maybe Rosebud was something he couldn't get or something he lost. Anyway, it wouldn't have explained anything. I don't think any word can explain a man's life. No, I guess Rosebud is just a piece in a jigsaw puzzle. A missing piece.